Hey guys, I just wanted to do my reaction video to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episode 2, Orientation Part 2. So, as you saw in my last video, and just to quickly recap what happened, brought before this monolith and sent into space, trapped on this space station with these aliens called roaches, and in which they were taking like humans captive, and they were working on trying to contact Fitz and get a signal back to Earth, in which you had May and Simmons grab a spaceship to try to get out of the asteroid field, and then you had Yo-Yo and Matt captured by the Kree, with Daisy coming to the rescue and being able to access their computers through one of their Kree's handprints, and Coulson interrogating a guy, so like he's basically some kind of scammer who, like, asking him about, you know, where they are, like where the thing was built, and it was like, oh, it was built like 90 years ago, and Coulson's like, it couldn't have been built in the 20s, and then when Coulson's talking about, you know, where they were taken, he was like giving like specific, you know, city and state, and then he's asking from what year were you taken. And then all of them kind of came to the conclusion that the monolith didn't just send them through time, but also it sent them through space, but also time, about like at least 90 plus years into the future. And May and Simmons got the confirmation that the meteor field they were going through was actually the remains of planet Earth, because they had like a destroyed school bus that was like in the debris field, which is actually just the remains of Earth, in order to maybe like I don't know, probably like the North, probably only like say like the North Pole and the remains of like Canada and like Asia, or like probably what remains of it, like the top surface of it that's still intact. So now it's like they have to deal with that revelation, and figuring out how to get home, especially now that they're trapped in another time.
This is Earth.
We're in the future.
It's all destroyed. Coulson, please tell me it isn't possible.
I think we can all agree at this point that anything is possible. Glad you're all right. Your guy, Virgil, he didn't tell you anything else about his plan to bring us back from the past?
I'm just still trying to fit all these ideas inside my skull.
And you haven't heard anything about a gateway? A rock that transports people?
If I had, you think I'd still be here?
There was no second monolith when I landed on Mavith.
So we'll have to find our own way back.
Well, I'm a biologist, but sure, I can invent time travel. Just give me a minute.
To feed the most vulnerable amongst us.
We've hit the North Korean dictator level of creepy. No. You can't move him. No, don't move him. Talk about protecting people when you're worried about your speakeasy.
Your metric, it's gone.
I removed it. I'm sorry.
No scar, not even a scratch. Just a pristine canvas. Such marvels make me wonder if you're even from the place. to see how my servitor fared under your handiwork. And if your wrist is any indication, I should be quite pleased.
I think it's exactly the time.
Okay. So much for passing through. What do you want?
I have a working Cree tablet. I'll trade it for 3 metrics installed.
I was right to be suspicious of you. That tablet's not worth 3 metrics. But anyone who can steal it is, so I'll get you hooked up.
Thank you.
But you'll work for it, and it won't be fun.
Line up and present.
We can work. We're in.
Get in.
Yes. You got too close to my transmitters when you were stalking me.
So this is your racket? You're pimping out the framework?
I never called it that, but yeah. That's the technology the hardware interface is based on.
You didn't pay me. Now you owe me a life. I left you 3 out there.
He didn't have to die.
Heal? He is my most precious.
Of course, it's barely been hours.
But it will scar.
With time or advanced procedures, it can look much better.
My servitors must symbolize perfection when they represent me.
That's it. That's what I'm looking for. That! Daisy Johnson. You say you're not dangerous.
So you know who I am?
Quake. You see, I'm the one person that's pieced the history together, who has an idea what happened. You want to know what kind of force can tear a planet apart? It was you.
What?
Gemma, you look wonderful. And I hear you're learning well. That's good.
So first of all, I gotta say that, like I said, I like the setting that they're in because it feels like the Team Coulson is in a situation that's more desolate and it's the most isolated the team's ever been. Especially since it's like they have no place to really or escape to from like the space station is all they got, considering humanity's all that humanity that is left is trapped on that space station. And I definitely like the music and like the guitar riff they have throughout the action scenes whenever like people are just like fighting over their lives or somebody's about to get killed by that woman who has like the telekinetic spears that go through them. It gives it like a kind of it kind of helps capture the cyberpunk-esque vibe that the show has right now, and I guess the whole setting about a life spent, a life earned, whereas like people are fighting over food, and that whole thing where the Kree puts the shotgun in front of everybody, and then they're like basically killing each other and fighting over their lives. It has like it feels like it just takes elements of like the Hunger Games, and like it's like Hunger Games meets The Purge or something. And it just like also again helps further desolate the just like how bleak, what a bleak what a bleak setting that the team is in. And I feel like this is a pretty like creative way of science fiction. I don't know like I mean, maybe there are other works of science fiction where you've been trapped on a space station where with the last of humanity, and Earth has been destroyed, but I have not seen them I do not recall seeing them any as of late. Maybe they're out there. If you are, just let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to look for some recommendations into shows and other TV or movies that have done that. But again, you also have like these new additions of Deke, played by actor named Jeff Warden, and Tess, who's played by Eve Marlowe or Eve Harlow. Eve Harlow, she was somebody who was in movies like, I think it was like, I remember seeing her in movies in like Jennifer's Body, and she was also on, just from other credits, she's also in The 100 and Heroes Reborn and Juno. So she's the one who was like, I guess like more of like the optimistic of the two, and kind of was like more open-minded to Virgil's stories about people coming to save them, or at least like holding on to hope. And Deke is the one who's just like, listen, he just wants to get by. He gets by through like the daily grind, day by day. And then of course you find out through him that he's the one who's recreated the framework from last season. Although because who's the big bad of the season, Cassius, removed any historical records of humanity just so because future generations wouldn't dwell in the past, or they'd be too ignorant to want to fight for anything. This is like, hey, this is all we know, this is how we have to get by, and not to keep them docile, and like not want to realize like how much better things were and want to fight for anything better than what they have. He said he was still able to get to servers and piece together the data bits by bit, and Daisy, who's following him around and gets knocked out by it, it's like she calls him out, her experience in the framework, and how like worst people's way of thinking for the worst. And he just says like, oh, you're trading one prison for another. And I like this line where he says, honey, prison, you think the lighthouse is a prison? Prison would be nice in comparison. And he's apparently intelligent enough to be, like create something like this, but I guess like I feel like he's just kind of naive because of the fact that it's like he assumes that like I said, they don't know anything about the history of historical records have been erased, but then he's the one like, oh, I've been able to piece things together. Like, do you know how you want to know what happened to the planet? You think you're not so dangerous? Like, you're the one that was able to quake the world apart, and that's when he shows the simulation of basically the remains of planet Earth. And I mean, Daisy didn't see anything, but now she gets to see it firsthand, which is like Simmons and May. But like I said, it's kind of idiotic because of the fact that the one major hole in that story is that how could she be present for an event? How can she cause an event that she wasn't present for? If she was propelled into the future, everybody propelled into the future by that monolith, then it's like, obviously she can't be around to like cause the apocalypse. So, I mean, there have definitely been theories going around. I mean, wondering if it's Thanos who who destroyed the Earth, or whether it was the Kree who was able to blow up planet Earth, and they came in, brought and enslaved what was remained of humanity. But I'm still going with my theory that it's Thanos because, knowing how powerful the Infinity Gauntlet would be, and given that it grants the user like omnipotent power, and I mentioned this in my other video, if Thanos was able to, I think it was like in the D3 trailer for Avengers Infinity War, if he was able to use like the gauntlet to destroy the moon, he would be, I feel like that's the only thing that would be powerful enough to turn the entire planet Earth into debris, and that I'm still going with my theory that this takes place in some dark alternate timeline in which the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy failed to stop Thanos' invasion, and the Kree were just being opportunists who came in and tried to, enslave humanity, or Thanos made some kind of deal with them. It's all speculation. But again, I like how they're keeping it with some of the humor, because it is so bleak. They're injecting at least some humor into this, with Coulson and Tess interacting, and mentioning how it's like, oh, at least it would feel safer on a space station when Earth had all these natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, Sharknado, and of course, Coulson's surprised how that's the one thing, that's the thing that stood the test of time was Sharknado, and he says oh, it was just work of fiction. And I guess I like the interaction that Tess had some kind of crush on Virgil and cared for him a lot, but never got too close to him because the whole concept of people time traveling from the past to save humanity seems so far-fetched that very few people took him seriously and just thought he was a crackpot. But then they go through his room. He kept around relics. He even had a picture. He even had a little mini globe saying that the world will look like this again one day. And they even go through his notes where it just looks like he's made line graphs, and he doesn't know. And they're trying to figure out what that all means, and what information that would hold. And also just the fact that. But again, it's how I think it's the reason why I like this character more than Deke. He just seems kind of just it's understandable why he'd be such a coward, but it's the whole thing where it's just he's antagonizing Daisy just because he blames her for the end of civilization, and I guess something I don't understand about this whole weird culture on the Lighthouse space station, it's kind of muddled to me, is how there's some people who I guess Cassius takes as his slaves, and he just has them walking around barefoot in white robes and has foreheads painted gold. And of course Simmons had to make the mistake of drawing attention to herself, just because even though she kept being told to blend in, which was a noble act, but then it caught her into more deep crap than as much deep crap as you would expect, when now she has to make up this lie to Cassius and saying asking where she's from. She says she's from processing, and yet how can a woman have medical information if she worked with sewage? And she knows she doesn't have the matrix on her wrist, which is something they use to keep track of everyone. And then he kind of shows what a narcissist he is, because he's so worried about, I demand perfection for my slaves. They are a reflection of me, and they have to look perfect. They can't completely flawless. And at first he thinks they can cover up his cauterized stab wound with the robe, and then he sees a small little cut on his forehead, and he thinks nope, forget it, they need to die, and then takes some metal thing, a worm or something, and it puts it in Simmons' ear to the point where she becomes deaf, and she can't hear anything unless Cassie speaks with her directly. So it just feels like it's going to be like sort of like a Game of Thrones thing in the sense that how Arya was blind for a good Arya was blind for like several episodes until she got her sight back and learned to be I guess like a person of no name. Is just going to be something like, okay, she's going to have to learn how to get by now that she's become enslaved, and now she's like, she's like hearing impaired, and now she has to like work to get that back somehow, and or find a way to get that back. But I don't know. It just seems like I'm just trying to understand like what one has to do with the other. I mean, I get like the whole like having to fight over food, and like the whole thing with the purge with their metrics coming on, hanging up and having people like fight over one another just to keep people like subdued and like the population low. But it's like what's the difference between this and that? I mean, one gets treated better, but it's like, what's the price? Like, what's the payoff? I mean, all I just know is that there's that ship that came at the end of the episode, and so that might be, I don't know if that's more Kree, if those are people that he sells into. He tricks people into thinking they're going to become like, gain more like luxurious lives, and maybe he's doing like some kind of slave trade with either like another group of Kree that are on that ship, or maybe it's another race of aliens, like maybe it's the Shi'ar Empire from, I guess there was a comic book called Avengers Operation Galactic Storm, and also that ties with the X-Men. So it's it's like, are they gonna be introduced into this season 2, or they have anything they're going to be like members of that empire that might be able to help Team Coulson, just because of the fact that it's just like, they're not just because, the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. It's also like, you can also see how, I guess it's like only like a situation like this where I guess or situations like this where Maze feels like I know she's supposed to be this like supposed to be this assassin who's become kind of cold-hearted because of that girl she had to kill that got rid of the cavalry, but the fact that she has to fight there's so few people left of humanity, and she had to fight that guy with a shotgun to save Yo-Yo, Mac, and Coulson. Then Marla had to come in grab the shotgun and kill him, and she said that he didn't have to die, and Tess said like somebody had to, and it just shows that it's just like she's optimistic, but she's still gotta like she's still gotta live by the rules of that place, and they have to learn to live by the rules of that place, like. And you mean she's optimistic, but it's just like, I guess like to only so much. This is all she knows what she's known for so long. So it's not like that's a habit she breaks, or it's not something you kind of like outgrow or shake off, for lack of better terms. And then of course you had to have the 3, Yo-Yo, Mac, and Coulson, had to have the metrics installed in their arms and make a deal with a guy named Grill, who saved their lives in exchange for having to work in the servitude. So apparently they had to work at some like blacksmith shop. It makes you wonder, like, which kind of makes you think like that's probably the last place. And plus he doesn't know any better, so I'm sure that's probably the last place that, for the bad guys' benefits, that they would want Team Coulson to be working in, because they can just like forge weapons of their own and lead some kind of rebellion, or at least like fight against the Kree, whoever gets in their way. And I like the joke when Yo-Yo when she says like, it would have been great if you had an axe right now, and it's like, no, that's not the time for that, just because, especially since Coulson's experience having to chop off his own hand, and it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting situation that everybody is in, and it's kind of I don't know. It just kind of makes you wonder just how they're gonna get out of it. I mean, like you said, like Fitz was the only one who wasn't taken, so they have to have somebody who's still back on Earth in present day, trying to find a way to reach them, and it's. But again, this is probably the darkest the show has ever gotten because of like because of like where when and where they are, and it seems like. And I'm looking forward to see where it goes, and and if it's going to connect to Infinity War, is it going to be their final season? Because I mean, they did give this show the Friday night time slot, which is not exactly bode well for it. Because I know they got low ratings last season, and they were almost canceled. But it's still, I mean, it's the reason why this and Once Upon a Time are both put on Friday night time slots because of the fact that it's the place where they send good shows to have their swan song, it seems like. So time will tell if it gets another season, or if it doesn't get another season. I hope this is the season where the show at least goes out with a bang, especially given the premise that they're doing right now. So, but anyway, guys, what do you think about the show? What do you think about the first two episodes? What are your predictions? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.